Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. And today we are joined by Vjohn Dizon, a certified life coach and transformational speaker dedicated to helping individuals and orgs unlock their full potential. As the founder of Spark, Vjohn delivers impactful personal development talks and provides corporate training, team building programs, and youth development initiatives. With a passion for empowering people to create positive change, he offers personalized coaching to help clients achieve their goals and overcome challenges. I've asked him to join us here today to share his story and insights on growth, motivation, and how we can spark our own transformations. So, Vjohn, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm great.
Good. Good to have you here. So how did you get into this? Is this like a family trade where your parents in the same field and you just carried the torch?
No, not at all. All right. So my story goes ever since I was in high school. So I was like about teenager. I'm a volunteer in this organization for young folks in LaSalle schools here in Manila. So LaSalle Green Hills. There's an organization there called the Search In. Yeah. And then after I graduated, I went to college. I was an active student leader, always get elected in student government and all that thing. So speaking to people, being in group environment, that has really been my thing. Now that retreat organization, it became a ministry. I talk to high school kids, I go to their houses, I talk to their families. I get to know them. They get to share to me about what they're going through in life and all that. And at the time, I felt like, oh, maybe I'm like a mentor or like the word coaching has not even crossed my mind. But other than the retreat program, we also do a lot of sports activities, team building activities, and it expanded not just in school, but outside school. We do all sorts of programs. And that became my constant thing while I was fresh out of college, trying to figure out what you want to do in life. I even tried government for a time. And then I also went to banking. I was management trainee, and then did some consulting work. But that thing, that volunteer program, was constant in me. And so when the pandemic hit, I really felt that everybody just needed someone to talk to, but nobody was listening, right? And there are so many studies about how it affected how people are, how companies are, right? The dynamics between people. And so that's really what inspired me. I said, okay, I can take up this. I literally just got an email from a firm saying that, hey, it's pandemic, you can study coaching. It's half the price because it's online, it's 2 hours a day. So it's an academy based in Singapore. And so I did. I took it up and I felt that, hey, I can really help people here. And there was much need of that during the pandemic. And even especially after, because people are the great awkward, right? People now are back in face-to-face setting, but hey, how do we work with each other? And so that's it. Since then, since 2021, that's what I've been doing. And then I started Spark. We do youth programs. This Monday, I might be Department of Education contacted me. They have a big event, so I'll be a speaker then. And that's it. That's really how it started.
I love it. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Did you just hang up a shingle? You got certified and you put up a shingle and it's just been sunshine and rainbows and you're busier than you can imagine, or?
Oh no, the biggest challenge was the jump out of corporate, right? I feel a lot of people would relate to that, right? So I've always been a corporate guy, but yeah, did 1 year in government. That was just really a promise to myself and my family that, hey, okay, I'll practice my political science degree of college, right? But I'm a corporate person and so is my family. But when I went out and became technically self-employed and then started this own business, that took a lot of risks, right? So that's the challenge there. And transitioning from at the time 2021 online activities, do a lot of Zoom, explored all the online things you can do, team buildings just online, right? And then to face activities. The challenge really is, at least for coaching here in the Philippines, it's still trying to promote it more, making people understand it more. Every time I say that I'm a coach, people would say, also for basketball, but that's a joke because I don't have any sport other than golf. And then I have to explain what coaching is. Others would say, oh, so it's like therapy, oh, but it's not. Oh, is it like, do you tell me the answers? Oh, but not really. I'm not a consultant. So that's the challenge. Those are the challenges.
And so how have you figured from that? It sounds like you're busy. You were just on the news before this.
Yeah.
Like how in it sounds like you're saying there's an education phase or a hurdle that you're dealing with. What's working and overcoming that for you? How are you overcoming that and then getting people what problem are people paying for you to solve? How did you figure that out?
Yeah. Yes, I hear two questions there. So yes, there's some educational support needed in terms of the coaching approach. On my end, that's why I do some content on TikTok and Instagram. So Life Coach Vjohn, my name, that's my handle there, to explain more about coaching. Now, what I solve in people, really, what people come to me in terms of one-on-one coaching is majority of it would be about they want to break a habit. They know where they are not right now in their life, and they see a vision, they see where they want to bring their life, whether that's okay, I know where I am at work, I want to go out of corporate and start a new business. It's more of where they are now and where they want to be in the future, but there's that gap. That's the support that I help them with. I have other clients who come in, and whether it's relationship, they came from a long time relationship and then now they want to move forward. So it's all about where they are currently and seeing a future for themselves, but how to get there. That gap in between is where coaching comes in.
So it sounds like you're helping people overcome or deal with relationship trauma.
That's one. Yeah.
And
That's
the other
one.
one is helping people put the pieces together to quit their corporate job and do the thing they really want to do.
Yes, yes. That's also another one. So those are the common themes. However, coaching really works in any situation. Yeah. What we always say, or I tell my clients, coaches are the master, sorry, clients are the master of the content. You tell me what we want to talk about, right? But the coach is the master of the process. Yeah. My job is I can tell you how to live your life, right? I can tell you if, yeah, quit that job, right? I don't know what's best for you. But my job is to facilitate the space where you can share, think for yourself, and hold you accountable. If you tell me, okay, I'll figure this out, I'll study this and that, then I'll jump. I'll be more confident to jump out of corporate. Then I'll hold you accountable to that. I'm your partner, I'm your life coach. Actions are determined by you.
Yeah, and you mentioned habits before. Can you speak to that? Why did you even bring up habits? Because that's how you phrased it. You said the majority of people that are coming to you want to break a habit. And at first I thought you were going to mention addiction, but then leaving work and entering the dating pool kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting because I never thought of those as habits.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a wonderful question. When I get to talk to my clients after a few sessions, habits come in the sense that they figure out that the life that they're living is in a cycle or repeated actions that they take, right? So that becomes a habit, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. For example, in relationships, they now get to draw the line like, hey, this happened before. In my previous relationship, it's the same, or I react this way. Now that's a habit, right? Or those who keep on changing careers, right? And they would come to me and say, okay, I just want to leave corporate. I've been changing jobs. Most of the time, their self-awareness would be about, again, this has happened before. I've experienced this, right? So it stems in a habit. And most of the time, that really is, I might go a little deeper here, is rooted in an stored emotion inside of them, right? Now, I'm not a counselor. I don't heal the past, right? I'm not a therapist as well. But that's my experience in doing this, right? People now become aware of, yeah, I have this something inside of me that triggers this habit of reacting this way and thinking that way. And once they get to unlock that, most of the time, really, it's a limiting belief that they just tell themselves. And then when we get to process, that's when they get to move forward.
I think that's really powerful. I think because we create, I don't want to get into who, but
yeah,
we consciously create the world in our lives. Our lives happen in our minds before they happen. Certain things happen to us, but what's more important, this is from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, one of the best, a classic, that it doesn't matter what happens to you. What matters is how you choose to respond to it.
That's right.
So oftentimes the wind that blows on one of us blows on us all. And we all have 24 hours in a day. And of course, there's things like you grow up in a certain neighborhood or with a certain family, but ultimately we all have 24 hours a day. We all have sun, water, wood, metal, earth to work with in the miracle of life and each other. And it's like, what do we make from that? And so to a certain respect, it's how we play our cards. And so often I think it is that. You mentioned about coaching. Everybody, all peak players at all levels have a coach. No one, I don't think there's anyone yet that's ever gone and won a gold medal at the Olympics that did it all by themselves without
That's right.
outside input. So I think that's really important and powerful. And so what is the process if people have some sort of emotional trigger or baggage? What's the process of dealing with that?
Okay, that's a good question. So what we do is I've designed a framework which I call the 3Ds, right? So discover, deepen, define. Right. So when I do my one-on-one coaching or even my workshops with companies, yeah, our team buildings, our trainings, I tell them this is the process we'll go through, right? So first we'll discover. So if it's one-on-one, we discover who you are. So I make them answer an online assessment about themselves, and then they get to share to me what they want to talk about, right? And they will go deep into who they really are. I've designed the series of every end of my one-on-one coaching, they get a homework. Most of the time, it's just like a one-page thing about self-reflection questions, right? And then they share to me their answers the next session. So it's really discovering who they are. And then that, most of the time triggers to, okay, yeah, I experienced this before. And yeah, I've defined myself in this way, right? Or I do have this habit, I do have this belief about me, right? Or they would say, as you've said, right? Oh, this person did this to me or in my past. And so now I'm like this. But later on, they become aware that the first part is you're asking the process. As we go deep from discover is they become the observer of themselves. This I love to share to a lot of people, right? So they become observer of themselves. They see that, hey, yeah, this happened to me, but this is the story I keep on telling myself, right? And now that I'm observing it, I always tell them the analogy of the mirror, right? I tell them, when you look at the mirror, that's the only way you can. Okay, I tell them, you want to go to a party, right? You dress up, so you look at the mirror, right? Now, if you see that it's not nice or you need to change something on you, you can change it. So I tell them, the reflection in the mirror is not you, right? You, who you are really, is the awareness seeing the reflection, right? So you can change that reflection anytime. Now, when they have that aha moment, we call in coaching, and become aware of that, oh yeah, I can change the way I think, I can change the way I feel. So now we've gone deep, discover, deepen, and then on the define phase, that's when we change how they feel, how they act, the habits, the new habits they want to build on. That's really how it goes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, they say clearly defining or what? No. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
That's right.
Medicine. And I think that's, we don't have to go down that road, but you mentioned the pandemic. There's a whole lot of prescribing going on there without diagnosis. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice in medicine and in any typical field. So I think that's really powerful. What do you think are some of the most important skills and behaviors for people to develop that maybe a lot of your clients are lacking?
Wow. Love that question. Love that question. I just want to say also the framework again I've shared works also in group setting, right? That's why I do my one-on-one coaching on my own practice, but of course business and the corporation would tag me from time to time in doing our workshops, right? But it's the same process, right? So we do training needs analysis. That's the discover phase. We go deep, we train them, we have open workshops for them through the coaching approach, right? So that's the difference. It's straight here in the Philippines. If it's training, you just sit down and listen, right? We try to veer away from that. And then on the define, this leads to that me answering your question. What's sustainable is because we have a pool of coaches as well in Spark. We can do one-on-one coaching for the businesses, right? There's sustainability. We can coach the leader. So now answering your question, I'd say two skills that they really need working on. One is really self-awareness, right? A lot would always say, oh, I've been doing this for the longest time. This is how it's done. But come on, right? The pandemic showed us there's so many ways of doing things, right? And everything keeps on evolving, right? The moment you think that there's only one way of doing it, it's how you've done it so long, nothing will happen, right? So that's it, the self-awareness. The second would be, it's the concept really, and I share this with our group workshops, is the psych safety, right? Psychological safety. A lot, especially in organizations, needs more education and awareness on that, how to create psychological safe spaces. There's also a lot of study on that, how it, if there's a psychological safety in organizations, they work together, they work better, right? Leaders think that, no, my rules, everybody follows, right? But not really, especially in the new generation and how things are and where people are all coming from. It's doesn't work that way anymore.
So can you expand on that psychological safety? What does that mean?
Sure. So it basically means that there's a safe space to say your ideas and it won't be held against you. That's one. Number two, you can share an idea and somebody can put that idea down, and that's okay because you're building on something new, right? There's a good explanation here on YouTube about what made SNL, right? Saturday Night Live, right?
Right. Yes.
Have you seen that?
Culture.
There you go, right? Exactly. That's it. That's culture. That's what I love about my job is, so yesterday I was coaching someone. I can't share about anything, right? We have ethics, right? But anyhow, and the leader just goes, yeah, I realized this. I need to be like this for my team, right? What that person doesn't know is that that's what the team has been saying, right? So that's where psych safety comes in. And so I told him, okay, that's exactly why I am coaching you as the leader of the business. And why in the succeeding months we'll have workshops for your team so you can meet on that level, right? And we can talk about psych safety. And that's the thing, if only we present that idea to them, that concept of, hey, there's such a thing as psych safety. You all can share your ideas, no judgment. There's no right or wrong idea. We're brainstorming, right? Emotions aside, then of course with respect, right? Especially here in the Philippines, right? We are a just and polite culture.
Almost to a detriment sometimes, but yes.
That's right. So that's really the thing. People wouldn't like to speak up because that I might be held against me. But not really. I do work with some businesses, especially BPOs, yeah, run here by foreigners. And that's always what they tell me, Vjohn, my team should speak up more. They're afraid of us. And And okay, that's where we come in, right?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if I mentioned this in the pre-call, but I spent a lot of money to have a team of 10 people help me go through all the academic literature on business success to try to figure out what really moves the needle for small and medium-sized businesses. And we went through hundreds, if not thousands of studies, and we identified 8 critical success factors for small and medium-sized enterprises. And then each of those factors we drilled into more. And so the 8 factors were self-efficacy, market intelligence, strategic thinking, marketing strategy, sales strategy, and skills, money management, business operations, and business intelligence. That those are the big umbrella categories that we need to excel in. And then we drilled into all these categories individually, like what are the pieces of it? So self-efficacy, which comes to what you're talking about, we put into 3 categories based on the studies that we looked at for self-efficacy in business. And those were personality traits, leadership skills, and personal disciplines. And so for personality traits, locus of control is one, which means being a control freak about which you control. And that is important for the boss as much as it is for the staff. If I give you a task, hey, your job is to control this, take control. Like it's you, I gave it to you. You like take control of it. Next one is extroversion, openness to experience, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and acceptance of criticism and feedback. So like in the same way Catholicism says, be like Jesus, we're trying to describe the ideal traits of an entrepreneur and even a team in the corporate setting. And then the leadership skills, for us in our research, we define it because often some people talk about leadership as having a vision and all that stuff. And from a business perspective, we're saying, no, that comes from your market intelligence and your strategic plan. That's where the vision leads, where how the company's going to make money, who you're going to serve. With the leadership skills are self-awareness skills, communication and cooperation skills, emotional intelligence skills, and adaptability. And then, of course, on top of that, you have to be more effective. If you've got a chiropractic office and you're in the same area as another chiropractic office, you're in competition with each other. And so you have to have the disciplines. You have to be healthy, the personal health disciplines. You have to have the mental health disciplines, the time management, the sense of urgency and discipline and commitment, will to achieve. And those all fit under self-efficacy. So I only went on that rant because you talked about psychologically safe, was it psychological safety in orgs? And for me,
Yeah,
that's almost what you're explaining, is that you have to help
that's
people
right. You got
understand.
it.
You have to have that emotional intelligence. You have to have that acceptance of criticism, feedback. You have to be
Yes.
conscientious both ways. You have to manage, but manage up and down, right? Like the
That's right.
employees be able to have, and sounds like you're helping create a space for that.
Yep.
I think is really
Yeah.
powerful and very much needed.
Great, great. Yes, yes, perfect. Wonderful, wonderful. Good stuff you had you guys researched on. Yeah, I just want to add. So one thing we do in our workshops is we literally teach them how to listen
Mm,
and give and receive feedback. So we in workshops we do, okay, pair up, right? There are some prompts. Let's practice our listening skills. And once they learn that, they see, yeah, I could hear beyond the words of someone else. Every day in business, we see it transactionally. Oh, you come to me, oh, I need this. All right, that's it. But there's something more to that. And even giving feedback, there's a way of giving feedback, right? And receiving it, right? Which all again leads to that psychological safety.
right. I love that. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see a lot of your clients making?
Wow. All right. One coaching, it's going back to the old, you mentioned old addicting habits, right? Old habits are bad to break, right? Only because, I don't know, a little science fact is our bodies love familiarity, which becomes an addiction. Okay. So last night, I was coaching someone and I told that person before we started, it's late at night because I coach him after work. I need some sugar rush. I'll just buy some iced coffee or something, right? And so when we were going on the session, I told him, really, this is an addiction. I don't really need it, but it
Right.
is, right? No, I'm just being honest to you. I was telling my client, right? Now the client is working on something else, and yes, he did say, yeah, no, he's making progress, but James Clear, Atomic Habits, right? I was telling my client, progress is not all the way up, right? It fluctuates as long as the trend is going up, right? So I was telling the client, that's okay. We are making progress. And he said, yes, actually, we really are. But it's not really a relapse, but see it that way. It's just fluctuating, but the trend is going up towards the progress we want. So that's good.
Right.
But yeah, that's the biggest challenge, going back to that old habit. Even in group settings, again, in company workshops, we do. They get so high after a workshop and in our one-on-one coaching, but they get to revert back to, okay, how things are done before.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say not everything in the jungle kills you and eats you. Some things attach to you and feed on you for as long as possible.
That's
You
right.
know, there's parasitic
That's right.
behaviors, parasitic attitudes, parasitic people, and we really got to be careful. Even I've deleted all social media off my phone. If you call my phone, it never rings, it never vibrates, it never nothing's, because my phone is my tool to communicate with the world. It's not there for the world to reach and interrupt me any day, anytime, any place. Right?
Wow, that's wonderful.
There's a way, shape, and form to handle that. So I think that's really important. And again, it comes back to teaching people and checking in. No change. Rome wasn't built in a day. So I think
That's right.
you have to build on that. You teach familiarity and then rep it out. Where do you see the future of your industry going? We've had a lot happen. You mentioned the pandemic, geopolitically, a lot's happened, technologies making leaps and bounds. What do you see coming down the pipeline in 5 to 10 years?
Okay, I really love that. I'd share first about, so we also do youth programs, right? Which is really where I'm passionate about. There are already some schools who call their teachers or their faculty as learning facilitators. And I advocate for that. I keep on telling them teachers should sometimes, if not most of the time, wear a coaching hat, right? Why? Because then at decades ago, the information just comes from the book and the teacher. And so we all just listen, right? Now your kids students may learn more outside without the teacher. I'm not saying I love teachers, I love education, they're replaceable, not at all, right? It's how they can create a space and not just, hey, instructor led. It's not anymore like that. And then same goes with company leaders, right? There are so many ways of doing things, and if only leaders again won't depend on how it has been done before. I have been in this company for the longest time, this is how it's done. No, wear a coaching hat, facilitate the space where people can share and think about, and everybody gets to contribute and learn. That's why where I see we're going and why we're doing our work, to create those spaces to even teach teachers. I'm also engaged in another firm, coaching firm I volunteer in. And we do have coaching sessions with teachers. Sometimes we teach them coaching skills, or sometimes we make them experience how coaching is, so that they get a realization of, oh, I can apply this approach, right? So that's how I see it. That's how I see the
You mentioned
future.
a lot of volunteer work. It's been a while for me, but I probably at some point have over 1,000 volunteer work. But why do you volunteer? What's the benefit of that? It's people listening. Is if they're just purely selfish people, why would anyone volunteer? Is there any?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sige, I'll answer that. For the selfish people, that's the cheapest way to learn. Right? Volunteer your time. If you see someone that you want to learn from, maybe that person might not hire you. But if you tell the person, hey, I'll work for free, that person might give you a shot, right? I love doing volunteer work. I guess it's really rooted to, we've been talking about habits, my energy and my habits since high school, right? I've been doing that kind of work. So it nags me until today. I do a lot of work, but at the end of the day, I still have some energy. What else can I do? And at the time when the day is over, business hours are done. What's left only is volunteer work. And so I'm also engaged in Junior Chamber International Manila. So this JCI, that's a big organization internationally. And here, right now, that's where I'm mostly active in. So my media interview this early morning at 4 a.m. was a project for that group. But it also just gives me more really sense of purpose, and it makes me come alive, that other than meaningful work I do, there are other things that I can help in. And again, my energy is looking for where else can we go.
I love that. I love that a lot. So what do you feel holds a lot of people back? We've already danced around it. We've hinted at it, but to really hit the nail on the head, what do you feel holds a lot of people back from making more progress in their life?
Wonderful question. It's the fear of the unknown, I'd say, right? It's the fear of, they're so familiar as to where they are, right? You call it comfort zone or addiction or whatnot. But even leaving a job that they don't want, right? They know that they don't want, I have clients that come to me and say that. No, but my favorite is, well, they say, yeah, I need to move on from this. Vjohn, coach, I'll move on from this. And I say, okay, do you want to move on? And then they'll pause and say, no, not really.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, you just said you want to move on. No, it's this and that. People will say this and whatever. So it's that fear of the unknown. And that's really difficult, I'd say. It takes a lot of things to process, takes a lot of letting go, takes a lot of the unknown, embracing the unknown.
What would you recommend to someone that's starting out or struggling in that process?
I'd say take small steps, right? You've mentioned Rome is not built overnight, right? So take small steps. If that would appease your fear, just little by little, right? And also connects to your question a while ago, why I volunteer, right? Because at the end of the day, if I volunteer for something, it's just my time they took, right? If I feel like, okay, even for that person, hey, you didn't pay me for this, I'm just a volunteer here, it's not working for me, I may be costing you more, I leave. And that's it, right? So just experience it, feel it, and if it's not for you, then try something else. But take that little step. Take that little step.
I think that's really powerful. Baby steps, right? I think it's a really important message. We live in such a world of instant gratification, and everybody wants that, but you really have to feel like, I think in the beginning for a lot of people, life is a bit of a journey, right? It's not about the end destination. And I think that little steps, the progress is better. Who you're becoming is more important than who you are, and progress over perfection, right?
Love that.
Progress over perfection. I think a lot of people get hung up on that. And that's right. That's really powerful. Vjohn, this has been great. I've got a bunch of notes here. Is there anything I haven't asked you yet that I should have asked you?
I don't think so. Yeah, I love the space we're having now. I'm good so far.
Good. It's fun. I feel like we can riff back and forth, because in some ways I feel like you're preaching to the choir here. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
I get that a lot. I get that.
People are enjoying this too. If they want to reach out and connect, what are some of the best ways for them to get in touch?
Oh, yes. Okay. So personally, I have Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So at Life Coach Vjohn, my name is spelled Vjohn, right? That's it. That's for my personal handles. For corporate workshops, trainings, team buildings, our website is www.sparkyesph.com. And we have, of course, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn also for Spark.
Got it. So go check out Spark Yes SPHSPARKYESPH for Philippines.com. And what were your social media handles again?
Life Coach Vjohn.
Life
That's it.
Coach Vjohn. So check
Yes.
out Life Coach Vjohn, Vjohn. You can find him Instagram, LinkedIn, and these others. Vjohn, thank you so much for joining and sharing us today.
Yep.
Knowing your own followers, your own staff, your own direct reports that you can be sharing your message with. Thank you for coming and sharing with me and mine so we can all do better.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this space.